Hello! It's a nice day today, right? Yeah! It reminds me of my childhood. Don't you remember those old times? Those were the nicest times. Like, we were all so innocent and pure. I remember when I was hanging out with my parents, and there was this guy who was my favorite person at that time. He was my father's friend, and he always buys me really nice stuff that I like, that my parents don't really want me to have. But since he gave me them stuff, and I really liked him. There was one time at the mall, he told me to try on some underwear, and he said he'll accompany me to the changing room. And then later on, I got lost in the neighborhood, and he was there. He told me to go to his house. Like, so what I didn't know was that my parents were already looking at for me, my uncles and stuff. And then good thing that before anything happened while I was at his house, they were able to find me, and they were knocking on the door, blah 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 blah, and my parents pulled me and sent me back to my home and told me to not go outside under any circumstances. And I don't really remember much of what happened. I was still very young. I think the police got involved, and ever since then, I've never seen this person again. I still think that for a long time, I still thought that was my favorite person stuff. There was also the time when I almost got kidnapped by a car, which was wow. but but I was able to get away, and I ran to like an area that was crowded. Also, there was this rubber bands, right? Do you remember rubber bands? I thought rubber bands were the coolest thing ever, and there was this guy who was selling those really like huge rolls of rubber bands. I think it was around 50 or 100. At that time, that amount was like really large, since I was still a child. So he offered me to give it to me for free. He wanted to give it to me for free if I do him a favor. So I said, yeah, sure. I he he we went behind the store, and he told me to suck on his lollipop, to I don't know, to lick it like it's a lollipop, the thing behind under his pants. And I don't really understand, but I I tried doing it, but it smelled weird, so I was kind of hesitating. But I thought the only thing I thought of was the rubber bands. I'll do this for the rubber bands. Yeah, I love those rubber bands. And then he was being called, so he hurriedly went back to the store, and I was just sitting. I was just standing there, completely still, like, what just happened? I didn't know what to do, and nothing happened. I didn't get the rubber bands, and I went home. And then I was really good at chess, so I became a scholar at another school. I was a transfer student at like grade 6, which was already graduating. So I don't really have any friends. I don't know anyone. I was all alone. So the classroom was like this, like a rectangle, and there was this shelf, right? That was covering the window, and I really want to look at the window, so I went behind the shelf. There was a little gap there, and there were some guys who followed behind, and then they told me that I should suck their dicks. And I was like, what? Why? And then they were pressuring me. They were pressuring me to say yes and agree to them. But good things. There were some girls who noticed, and they scolded the boys, and they protected me, which is nice and cute. And there was also a time when I went to the restroom. I was trying to go to the restroom, and some guys pulled me over to the boys' restroom. And there were a group of guys. They encircled me. They surrounded me. They really pulled down their pants and told me to suck it. But a good thing, a teacher went inside the classroom and scolded blah, 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 blah. He was scolding us, and they ran away, and me too. I also ran away. Like, he didn't really do anything. He probably thought it was just some teasing between kids, but whatever. Also, there was this guy who was a classmate. We were walking around the school and we found an abandoned building in the school, and then we just sat around. He asked me to borrow my phone, so I lent him my phone. He was looking through the pictures, and then at that time I didn't really know what he was doing, but he was beating his meat, and he told me to sit on his lap, and he also told me to tell him if a teacher was coming. So yeah, I was on the lookout while sitting on his lap, and he was making weird noises and stuff. I remember. And he also told me to bounce, like up and down like that. You know, he told me to bounce. I don't really have a reason to say no, so I did. I did bounce. But yeah, he told me to want to see something cool. So I said yeah. He told me to look at them, and then it erupted, like the white stuff came out. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. I didn't know. These things didn't really bother me much. I was a strong kid since I was used to getting beaten up by my dad and stuff. That's why even when those guys were surrounding me, I wasn't really too alarmed. And later on, I transferred schools because the scholarship is gone now, because the school is like doesn't really have the funds to sponsor us anymore. Now, an old teacher from the previous school kept messaging me, and I think he wanted to meet me and do stuff. He wanted to go in a relationship with me. At that time, I was around 15, I think. Yeah, I think though I didn't know that what he was doing was wrong and weird. He stopped talking to me one day, and he was my favorite teacher too. And when I was in high school at that time, right? I changed schools again. I changed schools a lot. There was this gay friend that we had. He was really nice. He helped me out at school and stuff. He also helped me out with this package that I bought online. So he received it, and then we met. There was no classes at the time. We met near his place. I wasn't really familiar with the area, so I asked him where the comfort room is, and he accompanied me to the comfort room. And then suddenly he said that he was getting hard, which was okay. That was weird. He then grabbed my hand. He placed my hand on his crotch, and yeah, it was hard. Like, okay, why would you do this? And then after that, I went inside the comfort room. It was a one-person comfort room, and the lights were broken, so it was very dark. But I went in anyway, and suddenly he also went in. He closed the door. I couldn't see anything. It was at night. The lights were broken, and he tried pulling down my pants, and I tried not to pull down my pants. And I tried my hardest. Like he was just saying. I remember him saying, please just this once, it'll be quick. He was chanting these words like it was some magic spell to make me say yes. I remember those words very clearly. Please, just this once. This will be quick. It'll be done. It'll be over soon. Now, I remember there was supposed to be a really nice day. It was a really good day, but it had to ruin just because of that night. I remember clearly that I had wished that night never happened, but it did anyways. After that, he went outside the comfort room first, and I didn't really know what to do. Like, I was all blank. I was just standing still, like defeated. And then after that, I was hoping no one was outside, but someone was outside. I felt very embarrassed, ashamed. He was also outside. He was all apologetic and kept saying, I'm so sorry, blah blah blah. He shared to me a story when he also got um assaulted, blah 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 blah. And then after that, I said, it's okay. I forgave him and stuff. I forgive you. We can still be friends and stuff. And then, yeah, I remember it being very difficult to walk because my belt was broken because of the incident, and I didn't really have money to pay for any transportation, so I walked home while my shorts were very loose. It was so difficult to walk. I remember for a while I was afraid of guys. I never told anyone. Anyways, I think that's all I remember for now. So thank you guys for listening, and bye bye!